In 2019, we began to build our dream.
But the journey started long before you were invited to watch.
We walked a path that spanned nearly 2 decades.
There were times of joy, pain, and everything in between.
Our lives have completely changed, and we're ready to tell you how it happened.
We're not holding back.
Our mistakes, regrets,
What we wish we could change, our best decisions.
and if we do it again, you'll hear it all.
Come back in time with us behind the camera and answer the question,
Is self-building worth it?
All right, welcome back to Mr. Post Frame. This series is called Is Self-Building Worth It? And today we're going to be talking about laying out your building, which is one of the most important parts of the entire process. I'm going to talk about my layout was great, my site prep was not great, and it was because I was trying to save money. So we're going to talk about that before we really even jump into the video. You'll be able to see some of these things, how they come into play with site prep. So I guess starting out your build, you gotta have a piece of property, you gotta have some plans. And one thing that, I was trying to save myself some money on bringing a bulldozer in and grading this all out. It appeared pretty level, but I had a couple feet drop from one end of our build to the other. And my thought was like, well, it's no big deal. I'll just set all my piers. And it really ended up making my layout a little bit harder. I did get everything perfectly square, but it did make it harder. And what it really did was cost us more money in gravel, in like thousands of dollars more in gravel.
Yeah, like to the tune of nearly 10 grand more.
Yeah.
Which was a lot more money than us bringing in the site would have been probably than bringing the site person in.
It probably would have been a couple $1,000s cheaper in the end, but the most important thing that it would have done is made my job a lot easier in actually laying out the build. You know what I mean? So I was trying to save money, which I really didn't save any money. I spent more, where if I'd have just had somebody come in, do the site prep, we'd have still spent more money than we originally wanted to, but we would have saved on what we would have ended up.
Yeah, and you would have saved some time and stuff like that, which, if you're DIYing, that, you do need to consider. It's going to take all of your time, and so you don't want to spend extra time because of something that isn't really saving you any money. And we've learned that too with like our clients and stuff like that there just is no replacement for a really good site preparation. We have a contractor that we work with. I mean, the equipment that they bring through is not DIY, go rent it from your neighborhood rental equipment. It's stuff, it's a massive bulldozer. They come through with a roller.
Vibratory roller.
Yeah, so I mean, you really get a big benefit in going with somebody professionally to get your site ready to build on, because everything from there will either be easier or more difficult.
Yeah, which brings me to another point. If you're like, well, I'm just going to do this myself, and say you have a few feet of fill that you need to put in there, one mistake that could end up coming back and biting you is not getting that, especially if you're using dirt, is not getting it compacted where it's going to be solid and your house isn't going to settle.
Yeah.
Your piers are going to go down below the fill, but this is a slab on grade. So there is the essential that you could have some problems there if you don't get it properly compacted. So don't take this part of the process lightly. This is a very, very, very important part of the process. I would say one of the most is getting your pad done properly, make sure it's compacted properly, and then whether you're going with piers or continuous footing, make sure those get down below, to where they're on undisturbed soil. That kind of stuff. So we're just gonna go ahead and start watching this video. All right, we're at the next major step here of the build, and that's laying out the house. So how I'm gonna do this is I'm just gonna use some scrap 2x4s, make some stakes, and I already laid out kind of the roughly where I want the front of the house, how I want it angled. So what we'll do is we'll drive some stakes in, and then we need 4 string lines for square, rectangle, and then we'll lay it out, and I'll show you how to square it and all that as we go. So let's start getting some stakes in, and then I'll show you how I will square it up. I have a really good video on how to lay out a building by yourself. I show some tips on how to add some 2x4s so you can pull tape measures by yourself. I did this all by myself. So I think our overall structure, our house is 48 by 48, the garage is 40 by 56. So it's over 100 feet long. And obviously this is a lot more work, but most of you are going to be doing this by yourself like me. It can be done. And I like running my batter boards 2 at each corner versus a diagonal one, because then I can add these little boards to hook my tape to. So it's almost like having a second person there.
Yeah.
Boy, look at that, that looks good.
It does. You can tell it's like higher though. So pretty.
Emily, did you come out before he laid this out or when he was laying this out?
I don't remember. I was pretty checked out. I was not invested in the project.
I think Emily was worn out from doing dishes in the bathtub and
Yeah.
moving her from like 7 different houses in the last 2 years.
Yeah, my spirit was pretty broken at this point, and I was not surviving even. So yeah, I mean, some of this is a little difficult to watch, knowing and then hearing about how this was such an amazing time in your life, and knowing that I was really suffering, and struggling, mentally and emotionally, and I was so happy we lived in Iowa. I didn't regret moving to Iowa for a second, but I was in rough shape. So it is a little bit odd to know that one person was having their best life, and then the other person was actually having some of the darkest times.
Yeah. You never realize how much work it's going to be to have little kids, how, you know what I mean?
Right. And just they
need 24/7 attention. It's not like you can have a couple hour break or whatever.
Yes. Looking back on pictures and these videos and things like that, and being able to immediately know what I was thinking and feeling in those times, it's one of those things where I wish I could go back and I could tell myself, you're gonna be okay, it'll be okay, it will pass, but at the same time, when I talk to younger moms, I'm like, listen, it's okay if you feel like it's never gonna end, because it really drags on.
Yeah.
It does go on and on and on for quite a while. For women, I think that you have all of the aspects pushing in against you at that point. That you have the mental and emotional tolls that it's taking of just all of the, the mental load of all the decisions you have to make during the day, and all the management that you're doing for the household and the children. And then you also have the physical toll, us having 3 babies in 4 years, it took a physical toll on me, because I was in my 30s for all of them as well. It's hard, you can't get over being tired. That's one of the things that they say about training military and stuff like that, is that you can't get over not needing sleep, and you can't get over being cold. Yeah. And so, so you think about motherhood, and it's nothing but not getting sleep.
Well, and if you think, not to turn this into marriage counseling, but for the younger couples that are trying to achieve this, if you're an older couple and you've survived, you already know all this. You know how difficult it is. You know, just how challenging marriage can be in certain points, because at every phase of life and of marriage, each parent has a different role. And it's almost, I kind of look at it, this is a man's perspective obviously, but I kind of look at it as like a basketball team. My role in one game might be to score. My role in another game might be to guard the best player on the other team. And you can never really understand how the other person is feeling. Mm-hmm. Because when I was a cop, at the end of my career, I was in a bad place. Like my mental health was on the line, and not everybody can understand that. And then we move into this, where we go into this phase of where we were debt free, but we didn't have a whole bunch of money in the bank where we could just take our sweet time. So we kind of put ourselves in a position where you really didn't have a choice, and I didn't really have a choice not to keep moving forward. You know what I mean? Which makes things really difficult, and it's really, really difficult to navigate.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great point. Like we definitely put ourselves in positions multiple times over the last, couple of decades where there was no option. We had options, but we didn't have options. Right. The option that we had was to quit and not do it at all. And so, and we would have ended up losing too much money that we couldn't have financially survived. And so it's, so we definitely we always would back ourselves into a corner.
Yeah. So I guess my advice to you, if you're going to do this, especially if you're a younger couple, I mean, you got to be ready, and you better have it set in your mind that you're not going to give up.
And I think that if you are in that position, I think some of it is just the recognition. Like I said, I wish I could go back and tell myself, you'll be okay. Because I think it's just acknowledging that it's difficult, and also having your partner be able to acknowledge, hey, I get it. This is really tough and stuff, and not, you don't want to brush any of that off. But thankfully at that time, I had a really good circle of friends that, they had, some of them had little kids, some of them were just out of the stage that I was in. And so they were very, very supportive and things like that.
And then on top of all that, we have the YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And so it's we got to put out videos. We're not making any money.
Yeah.
You were like, well, this YouTube thing will take off eventually. And I'm just well.
God, I mean, looking back, the amount of time it took to take off,
we went months with 30 subscribers.
Yeah, we didn't hit monetization status with the platform until 8 monds in.
Yeah, and I still look back and think, why in the world would I keep doing this?
I don't know why. I think it's probably because all we ever had known was putting ourselves in a position where there was no going back. We had just there was no alternative. And so I think we just mentally, our brains just kept doing that. It's there's no going back.
Anyway, not to get in the weeds, but that's reality if you're going to do this, especially if you have little kids. And then when you're older, you have other challenges. You might not have as much energy, as much physical capabilities. So there's always, I don't care what financial status you are, what phase of life, you are going to have challenges. And going into this, you just got to understand that. Mm-hmm. And, that's hopefully you guys watching some of this and us kind of talking to you about our experience will kind of help you determine, is this something I want to do? Or am I, no, I'll continue living where I'm 4 minutes from 6 targets.
Right. Yeah. And that's okay.
That is okay.
Yeah. We definitely don't want to romanticize.
It was not okay for me, but it would have been okay. At the end of the day, if that's what our decision would have been, we would have been fine. We would have figured it out.
Yeah.
So getting back to layout, the way I lay out all of my structures and the way I did this is I pick the front of the house and I make that my constant. So I know where I want the front of the house to face. I know where the windows are going to be. This is where it comes in really important to have your piece of land, in my opinion, and to know where all the doors and windows are, to know where the approach is going to be, to know where you want to be able to see, because that's how I determined how I laid out my structure. I actually wanted to wake up in the master bedroom and look out the window in front of me and see this huge 200-year-old oak tree. And so I took that into consideration. I know that sounds silly, but that's just kind of what I wanted. And I wanted to be in the kitchen and look out and see the back of our property. So I use the front of the building as my constant, and then I square the rest of it off of that.
Yeah, and did you check out sun too? Like just directionally?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes your property dictates what you have to do, but
Yeah, sun is an important thing because, depending on what you want, some properties will limit you. We were a little bit limited because our property, there's nothing flat here. So we kind of had to pick the high, I wanted to be on the highest point because I didn't want any water issues. I didn't want to have to excavate a lot. But I think the sun works out good for kind of what I wanted. Another great option for that is to go out and stand on your piece of property in the morning, see where the sun is coming up and see where it goes down. And just, you got to keep in mind, depending on where you are in the US, that, here in Iowa, the sun is substantially further south right now in the winter than it is in the summer. So that's something to consider too. I don't think energy wise, I don't feel like if you build a post frame home and use spray foam in the walls and stuff, I don't know if it's going to make a huge.
yeah, I think the only thing that the sun has impacted significantly is that our living room has all of these big windows. And so during the summer, the sun is setting right in those windows, which is what we wanted. We wanted
But there are times we want to cover those.
Yes, we want to cover them, but then the thermostat is
There's about a 20-30 minute time where the sun will hit the thermostat.
Yeah.
Which it won't turn the in-floor heat on, but it would turn the furnace on if we had it on.
Or the AC.
Or the AC, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that I've noticed is that there is that window where, if you wanted to be really strict about it, well, you could put blinds on all of the windows and have them all closed at that point. You could turn off the AC at that point. Whatever, or you could have the thermostat in a different location.
Our plan was all along is to have shades. We just haven't spent the money on it.
Yeah, but that's when it's in the lower windows anyway, so it's, not much for blinds and shades.
But those are things to consider when laying out your house. What you want to see, how you want to approach.
Yeah, and that's all something that as we design barndominiums, and that's not something that we can really make the decision for you on. You have to be figuring that out on your property. So that's kind of your homework if you're in that planning phase of figuring that out, because your designer isn't going to be able to give you say this is exactly what you should do based on it, because we're not there with you.
Yes, and this is kind of another very big consideration is, are you on a gravel road? And if you are on gravel road, how busy is that gravel road, which will determine how far off the road you want to be. You do not want to be on a moderately busy gravel road and be right up on it, because your house will be covered in dust nonstop. We're 600 feet off, and we will still in the summer get a light dusting over the roof of our house.
Yes, yeah, we still couldn't, I haven't put up a clothesline, we couldn't hang dry our clothes and sheets and stuff like that. They would end up with dust on them. I can tell, I can tell in my hair in the summer, it just, there's gravel dust.
Yeah, but you're never outside to get gravel dust
I
in
am
your
in the
hair.
summer. Jeez, acting like I never step foot outside.
Well, you're acting like your hair is always full of gravel dust. You're never outside to get gravel dust in your hair.
I am sometimes. I do help in the garden some.
Yeah.
And I do go outside. That's one of my goals for this year, is to be outside more, get the kids outside more.
Maybe if we weren't so busy.
Right. See, it's just, so dang busy. Busy running our house and the business.
Oh, look at that phone. That's old school.
Oh yeah, and you have a special calculator for this point of the project?
At some point in this, Justin, you can put a link to one of our really good layout videos.
And the layout calculator?
Yeah, so, this goes on for a long time. Did I bring gravel in on this? No, you know what? I'm trying to find the location of our storm shelter. So one thing to mention, guys, we have a lot of layout videos And the one you probably should be watching is one where we have properly prepared the site. And so we'll leave a link to a really good layout video that you guys can watch when you get to that point, just as a reference. And one thing as you're watching this, you can see how high my string lines are, and that's because I was trying to keep them somewhat level. So you can see how much from one end to the other that I've dropped in elevation. And that makes things so difficult, because what happens is you get your stakes up really high, and then when you pull those string lines really tight, it can kind of pull them a little bit, which can get you off a little bit. So those are all things why preparing that site is so important.
Yeah, and I think you have purchased, I mean, for our business, we have quite a few tools, but I think that there are some, one of the lasers we use, you would recommend, even if you're only doing the one build, you would still go ahead and purchase some of the nicer lasers, or laser levels and stuff. And
I'm pretty sure I did this without a laser, but I would highly recommend a nice rotary laser. The one I use is the Stabila LAR 350. You are not going to be disappointed that you have that, and you could use it through your whole project, turn around and sell it and get most of your money back.
yes.
It's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of thought of like, am I accurate or not? It just takes all that guesswork out of it for you. Look how beautiful the sky is. I can't wait till it's summer again.
I know.
Doesn't this make you want to like buy another piece of property and build again?
Yeah.
And you could be more involved.
Yes. No, I would love to. I'd love to.
Get some of that dirt in your hair that you're talking about.
God. What a love, man. No.
I mean, make it real.
Yeah. Yeah. Make it real. Yeah.
Oh, it's a miracle. We've made it.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I do that might not get gravel dust in my hair, but they do keep this ship of moving forward. Oh. But yeah, it would be cool to do this again because our kids would be involved more.
I think what we should do is we should buy another piece of property. We should build the exact same house
Okay.
and do all of the things that we were like, we should have done this, or we should have done that, or we shouldn't have done that. And then, I mean, maybe we should make it black.
That would be
Like
pretty fun.
that rendering.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Should we do that?
So somebody wants to buy our house.
Yeah. That would secure us another couple of years of videos.
It would. It would. I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. But yeah, I don't know. It would be fun to do it again, except that we do have a pretty good setup.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. We have a little bit of convenience, which sometimes it's okay to say, here's the finish line. Life has some conveniences. You don't have to make your life difficult always.
All right, so that's gonna be a wrap on the layout video. Obviously, we got into the weeds on some of that, but that's reality. And that's what this series is about, is helping you guys navigate this. But we will leave a link to a video that will cover all of the tools and how to properly lay out your structure on a properly prepared pad, because I think that is the key, is to start with a well-prepared pad. So we'll leave that link in the description. Also, you guys, we have a Patreon group that is for self-builders, for self-contractors, for guys that maybe want to start building barndominiums or post frame. It's a great community of other self-builders. We have a share your build section on there where you get to share your project with everybody else on there. It's a great community because everybody kind of shares their do's and don'ts, the things they've screwed up. And secondly, if you want to design a barndominium, we are the place to go. Our design company is Back 40 Buildings. And so we can get you set up with some great buildable plans, so check that out. But as always, we appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, and we will catch you on the next video.